small business owner, and my name is Stephanie Van Vark. Today, I have two guests. I'm very excited for two reasons. One, it's real estate, so everybody always loves to learn stuff about real estate, but also I get to try out my fancy new system with two guests at the same time. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Shirlee Fernandez of Invest Counsel and Myriam Cambronne, who is her partner in that effort. One second, we'll bring them on board.
Oh, okay.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this show. As I've shared with everyone, this is a bouncing off of ideas to talk to businesses during this pandemic and what they're doing with regards to shifting during this kind of time. So I'll get right off to a question of real estate. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Go ahead, Shirley. You can go first.
Okay, I'm Shirlee Fernandez with Invest Counsel. I specialize in the Edgewater area, and me and my partner, we specialize in investment properties, helping people find wholesale properties, secure tenants, whether it's a Section 8 tenant or just a family in general, or could even turn it into like a vacation rental.
Mm-hmm. And you, Myriam?
Hi, I'm Myriam Cambronne. I'm a broker associate. I work with Shirley, and I really do mostly investment properties, find properties, rehab them, put renters in there, and do the property management for my clients. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Okay. Tell me, are you considered an essential business?
Yes, hallelujah.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
No, we are. I mean, people always need housing, and I had people stranded here. We had people who stranded here because they couldn't get back to their countries. So they were able to reach out to us and secure housing. And the hotel, I mean, it was shocking. The hotels at one point and the vacation rental companies were told, stop, kick your people out.
Right.
That's terrible.
Right. It was terrible.
I remember that. They were like, Monday, you got to go.
Right. And then they were like, wait, hold on. We have people who are stuck here, and they can't get back. So those people need housing. So,
exactly.
Amen. Yes.
So was that a way that you were able to secure some clientele in an emergency situation?
Well, you were able to help the people in the apartment 3. You can tell that story. That's very interesting. The people that got stuck here.
Right. Yeah. We were able to secure a couple of clients for rentals. We have an apartment ourselves that we teamed up and bought. And it's a mother, her daughter, and 2 grandchildren stuck here from Ecuador, and they're still with us. They don't know when they'll be able to return. And then we also have a family that moved here from Atlanta.
Okay.
And they're with us as well. So yeah,
is it because of the airlines they can't get back?
Yeah, to Ecuador, the borders are closed. And the family from Atlanta, they were here in searching of new homes, staying with us temporarily, but now they're shut down. So, they're not shut down per se, but lost their jobs. We're working with them, helping them out.
Well, I mentioned to you, Shirley, that I'm going through a refi, and the gentleman that we spoke to talked about right now there aren't a lot of new mortgages coming into the queue. Everybody's in refi mode. I think talking to you, you mentioned you are still selling homes.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask, how are you still selling homes during this period of time? And, are those contracts that were already in the queue, or you're finding new clients?
Both.
Okay.
So,
there's still mortgages, especially for owner occupants. There's a lot of good FHA, a lot of good conventional.
Okay.
So there's actually, if you're looking for a home right now, the interest rates are low. So it's a good time. If if you're still employed, obviously, and you still have all your documentation, this is a good time for first-time home buyers, or like I said, any owner occupant type properties.
Definitely, the rates are low. I mean, you can get under 3% financing. FHA is like the best deal in town because you can get 3% of the down gifted to you from a relative, maybe who has some, bank there. And then also the closing costs, percent can be, given back by the seller. So it's like FHA, if you, like as Myriam was saying, if you're gainfully employed still, hallelujah, amen.
Yes.
If your credit does need to be at least a 700 now. And Myriam will tell you, it is tougher, but it's happening. I mean, they
Yes.
are going over everything with a fine tooth comb and a magnifying
I
glass.
can
So,
imagine. I can imagine. But I
yeah,
mean, the banks right now are really focused, as far as I can determine, on the Paycheck Protection Program.
that's
So
true.
I'm finding it interesting that they do have the capacity, I guess, to kind of still provide mortgages.
Well,
Um,
it's two different departments. It's two
okay.
separate situations.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Um,
and the federal government lowered the rates so there could be some movement still,
okay.
you know? Yeah.
Okay. And are
And
the
and
prices
and
of the
back to
homes
paycheck.
going down?
What's that?
Are the prices of the homes being
They're
affected?
slightly edging down, and the other option that you have, there's a lot of people that may try to refinance, but they can't. So their other option is to sell. So you
Okay.
have some sellers that'll be more lenient, maybe giving more closing costs than they normally would for,
Okay.
to be able to move. So like I said, if you're have your pay stubs, your tax returns, this is a great time to try and buy a home, because you might find that seller that'll be like, okay, I'll give you, they can actually give you up to 6% of your closing costs.
Okay. Okay.
Before, nobody would ever get closing costs. That was like something that was very rare. But now I find a lot of more sellers are willing to do that just to make the transaction
Okay.
move forward.
Well, in real estate, I know, we talk a little bit about emergency plans. I think for you, I was here, and I'm not sure if you were in the area when sort of the housing boom dropped. A little while ago. Also, hurricanes. So I'm curious as to what a realtor's emergency plan would look like. Is that something you have to always have in activation mode under these kinds of circumstances, or on the ready?
Well, I'll tell you, like I tell my kids, you always have to have 6 months of savings, you know. So
Mhm.
my 21-year-old just started a business, and I said, okay, I'm behind you as long as you have 6 months of you're able to pay all these things for 6 months in case something happens.
Right. Very good.
And I guess being a realtor is the same as it's entrepreneurship, so you're always having to look for sometimes different avenues or angles. So, but my contingency plan is I always have a savings just in case. And this type of business anyway, you have a sale, you don't have a sale. You always have to have a little
Right.
back. That's my
Right.
backup. Myriam might have some better
No,
advice.
I agree. But the thing I always say, we're fortunate being in real estate, because a lot of people in this time, when they got laid off, they didn't have like a choice to go and do something else. Like if you have like a
Mhm.
specific type of job, you can't just turn in one day and do something different. Where we have options that we can, if we were doing sales and they slow down, we can go and do rentals. If we were
Okay.
doing rentals and that's not working, we can do property management. Where I think I feel very fortunate to be able to have that way to pivot from one thing to the other to make something work.
Okay.
Options.
Okay. So let's talk about your partnership. I had a guest on last week who is in partnership with her husband. Partnerships, I know, sometimes can be tricky. I think I told you the Soul Cycle. I listened to a podcast where the woman from Soul Cycle talked about how they had to go to a therapist on occasion to
Oh
get
Lord.
partnership. So how do you make this work? Did you sit down and sort of have a formal, this is my role, your role, or it's meshing as it goes, or how has that worked for you?
I think it's
It is
meshing as it
definitely,
goes.
yeah, definitely messy as it go. And we both have pretty calm personalities. And I think I was telling you earlier, I drive her crazy definitely more than she drives me crazy because I'm a morning person and I will start sending texts at 6 o'clock in the morning. And
Big
not that
old
they're meant to
list
be answered, but the thought of flow is there before I go on to other things. So I know that could be like, oh my God.
stuff. So when you find that you are in opposing opinions, how do you come to a deciding factor? There is
I
no
think we're pretty good at talking it through and looking at all the different options, because if you can't communicate, that's where things break down. So
yeah.
I think there's times where, all of us get frustrated and I'm like, let me take, because there's many times where I've had to call her back and be like, sorry about that. I didn't mean to be so aggressive. But, because you have to also self-evaluate yourself when you're being too much.
Okay.
But as long as you realize when you've done too much, you call back, I'm sorry, how can we fix the problem? Because talking about the problem, complaining about the problem doesn't solve it. You got to fix it
Right,
and move forward.
Right.
And I'm all about the
right.
move forward. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And yeah.
Good. I'm sure, had to adjust some of the ways that you operate during this pandemic. I think, the idea of being able to show someone's home is a little different. A way of securing clients probably is a different conversation. Communicating with clients is probably a different conversation. Can you speak to some of those options, and then are those things that you will keep as you move forward, or you find that you operate a little differently and this is just for necessity now?
Well, definitely lots of changes, and many I will definitely keep. I mean, real estate has been moving online, and I've sort of been a snail with catching up with that.
Me too.
So, right. So I will, I will push forward with that. So definitely, we're doing more online virtual tours. They're
Right.
doing virtual open houses. So we may reach out to you to do a virtual open house, because that's how it is. It's like connecting with Facebook, connecting
Mhm.
with other online sites to show the homes that you're marketing. Um, Clients, if clients are allowed, because there are some places won't allow people in, or there's
Mhm.
some people don't feel
I've had to deal
comfortable.
with that a lot.
Mhm.
Right. But if they are allowed in, clients have to wear a mask, and,
Mhm.
and sanitize their hands before going in. And people are 6 feet apart. It's like, okay, you go
Okay.
in, I go in, and then we discuss the property. And hopefully, amen, that will disappear. But that's one of the major changes right now.
And is
And
that a
working,
concern
oh,
when you
sorry,
look
go
at?
ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a concern when you're looking at a senior audience?
Yeah, I have a listing coming up, and she has underlying conditions. So we're going to
Okay.
photograph her home. So
Okay.
she's going to go in the backyard. The photographer is going to take his shoes off, put on a new pair of socks, sanitize everything before
Mhm.
going in. And her daughter has offered to sanitize everything after he leaves.
Okay. Okay. And Myriam, you were about to say, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I actually lost a listing because the tenant, every time, even though I had people have masks, I followed all the directions. It was a duplex that I was trying to sell. She just made it so difficult. And I don't blame her, but she
Mhm.
just made it so difficult that finally the owner was like, look, let's just take it off the market until all of this passes.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right.
one of the other things that happened during this time is I've been working from home, and it's actually not that bad. It's
No, I see that
it's
too.
I'm getting used to it, and I have a feeling I've been talking to a few other people about this, other realtors, they're kind of liking it too. So I
Mhm.
think when this is
Mhm.
over, a lot of people might not return to that same going to the office kind of thing.
Which will open up an opportunity for
Yeah.
you. I've had this conversation as well. Several people feel like they work better in their personal space.
Yeah.
So what might like that look like for you in terms of office space? We've done a lot of co-working space in this city.
Mhm.
Is there opportunity for you to pick up a different audience, a different target market um, after this is
Oh,
all over?
well, I
Or would you?
mean, no, because I've never really done too much commercial. I only do like real estate and real estate investment. But like I said, I think a lot of, even though this has been a difficult era in our lives, I think we're gonna come out better for it. I think a lot of people are, it's I don't know how to put it. It's less hectic
That
when you're
is
Right.
the
here
nice,
working
yeah,
from
the
home.
slower
Exactly.
pace, and actually,
Exactly.
communicating more with the family,
Yeah.
Exactly. I
and,
agree.
and to having the time to organize more and plan more and
Yes.
be introspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was watching a show the other day where they talked about it's been wonderful because people now realize they don't have to be on go all the time. So it is going to be a healthier process, I think, as well.
Yes.
Now, talking about homes, I have heard this could not be true. This might even be something I heard on television. But when you sell a home, typically you are to disclose if someone died in that home. I want you to clarify, is that true? And now with COVID, are you also required to make that disclosure of someone who died of COVID and make sure is the CDC requiring some kind of cleaning dynamic that has to happen as a result as well?
I have not heard of that. I don't know, Shirley, if you've heard of that.
I haven't heard that either, but in
Okay.
general, people are just sterilizing more, and there's new companies popping up that come into your house to
Absolutely.
sterilize. So, I mean, that is something that I think everybody's doing in general. I tend to always focus on the positive. I mean, if I was I don't think that, I, unless they say it's mandatory, I don't think that would necessarily come up. Right,
Okay.
Myriam? What's
I
your
did
thought
have
on
one
that?
person that wanted to come and see one of the units, and she asked me, "What is your sterilization protocol?" And I told her I'd get back to her because I had never thought about that.
But that's something that I think will be a new norm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Posting how it's been sterilized. I know I was reading on hotels, and they're going to have placed on their door that this was sterilized at 3 o'clock.
Oh,
No one else has entered. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some new protocols, coming popping up because of this.
yeah, I've met a company that is now transitioning into that, and she's been very specific about it's a different thing than just a regular cleaning. She's a cleaning company, so
Hmm.
I agree. This is going to be a new product.
So do share her information with us
We'll
because
do, we'll do.
we'll
Yeah.
probably need her.
I will definitely make sure I make that
Thank you.
introduction. See, that's why I love this show. We can make.
Right. Right.
Um,
I have a question, by the way. Some people were texting as we were talking because I sent them a link
uh,
that Yvette Harris, and also shout out to Yvette Harris. Right. Oh,
she
okay.
made the correct. She
Love
made the
her, the
connection.
best,
She's here.
the best publicist.
She is.
The link that I shared, they said they're not able to get in on that link. Is it,
That's very weird. And what I will do is make sure, and I do apologize, everyone. If you'll ask her to go to Going Over Town, I'm sure she can see the show there. But it's our
okay.
YouTube link, so that's a little strange. You're talking about the YouTube link or the Be
Right.
Live?
No, the live link.
Oh yeah, they probably
Actually,
couldn't get on that
whatever
quickly.
link Yvette showed to me, shared with me from Facebook is what I shared, and I got
Okay, so then
they're
that's
like, I
what
can't get in. I'm like, okay.
okay, I think that's maybe because the link I share with you from Facebook is the one we're on now. So after this,
Oh,
I'll make sure
gotcha.
I send
Okay,
the
gotcha.
actual
Okay,
Facebook itself. So
okay.
so wait, okay, now I got some more questions. I know. How quickly do you anticipate? I live in the downtown core, and as many of us have seen, the construction has not stopped. Buildings are going up as we speak. I think they have made the crew smaller, and they seem to be working in different parts of the building, but they're still moving. So clearly, that's going to be opportunity for realtors to be able to sell once those and rent once those properties are up. But do you feel like the industry has changed in many ways, financially, or do you feel like it's the same, or is there a bounce back that needs to happen? What's your projection on what's happening in the industry right now?
I feel as far as downtown is, I think they did the same mistake they did before, and they too many buildings, too many apartments, and not enough people to buy them. There's apartment buildings that are more than half empty, and the prices started off very high. People
Mm-hmm.
invested, and they thought, "Oh, this was a great investment," and now they're selling it for hundreds of $1,000s under what they bought it for.
Right.
But I
And they're
suppose at
still
some
doing
point
that.
in time, mm,
They're still doing it.
they're still doing it.
Still
But
doing
Miami is it's a very special place. A lot of cash, a lot of investors. This is
it.
where they park their money to make it grow. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, some of them did lose. But I think at some point, like when everything opens back up, the prices will level off, and we'll be able to start selling the condos again, but at a lower price than what they bought it for.
Than what they bought it for.
I mean,
Yeah,
Miami is a hot spot and it's
yeah,
international. So we still
absolutely.
have a lot of second home buyers coming
Hmm.
here. I
Mhm.
mean, Beckham just bought it. What's the name of that building? Everything starts at 5 million and up. Uh, right.
The Aston
So I
Yeah,
Martins.
mean, because
I don't know anything about that building.
when you go to London, people are like Miami. And the interesting thing, talking about back to the pandemic, I think that we're going to see more people like New Yorkers purchase second homes here because
Mhm.
I believe that.
I agree.
they're talking about the wave coming back in the winter time. So I think for Miami, I think we're going to see a
Mhm.
surge of influence of people coming here with second homes, and I think we'll have movement then.
I believe that too.
Also from the islands, I know in my property we have several people from Guatemala, well before the pandemic, of course,
Right.
Venezuela, I think even Holland, Europe, that just came in with cash and was able to buy some of the properties
Right.
as well. So I do believe that's going to continue the wave. It's just very
It
interesting.
is. I mean,
Um,
look at South Point open, and it was 8,000 people out there. And I had people coming, they want to, the millenniums are wanting to come here, just to
Mhm.
vacation,
Mhm.
Get outside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Miami's a great place to be, and I don't think that's going to change. I agree with Myriam. Prices are going to be a little lower, so it's a
Right.
great time for people to
Hmm.
buy. It's a buyer's
Right.
market,
Right.
Yeah, they're going to get some good deals.
Right.
Did you apply for the PP, all of the options that were available out there? I was about to say the PPP, but there were several resources and loans and grants that were available. Did you try to apply for them, and how did that process go for you?
Yes, yes, and yes. So, I bank with Bank of America,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
I applied
mhm,
when it first happened.
mhm.
And it's so funny because we sort of talked about this yesterday. So I applied, and I got the letter saying, "Yes, you're almost there. You need to sign the promissory note." And so after speaking to you, I was like, "Okay, let me go Bank of America." And then I got nervous because when I was applying, this was so critical. I was applying and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I made a mistake. And then I started over. So I had two applications.
Oh,
And
wow.
right. So when I got the one notice saying, okay, you're almost there, it's sent to the SBA and you have your identification number or whatever it was called. Then I got a one saying, your application has been canceled. And I was like,
Oh,
canceled? And
No.
and I'm like, that must be the second application. They like, we've
Okay.
been, because they were saying we were asking you for all this information. And of course, I only went through with one. So,
Mhm.
that being said, I signed the promissory note yesterday.
Right. So
So
you and
I'll
I
be
are in
looking
the
for that
same
to come
boat.
into
We're
my
waiting for you
account.
to get the money.
Right. And my son just got the economic injury disaster
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And he's like, Mom, check your account. Did you get yours? Because I applied before him, and that hasn't in my account yet. So
And you, Miriam, have you tried anything?
I tried with Chase, nothing yet. But yesterday when you told me to try PayPal, I uploaded
Okay.
everything last night. So now I'm waiting to hear
yay.
back.
Yeah, yeah, I've learned from them actually. I know smaller banks, local banks, and it's been recommended that you check out some of your smaller
Yeah.
local banks who are really looking to support. But I didn't know PayPal actually was in the game
Right.
as well. So for those of you that have an account with PayPal, it's a great time for you to check out and lean on that relationship.
And I also tried to do like the city microloan, but I was an hour
Yeah.
short. By the time I got on, all the funds had been dispersed.
Did you? Okay, I got to tell you, I'm a little mad about that
Yeah, it was
because I
fast.
did the same thing. So what we're talking about is we got an email saying that the city of Miami's community block grants was offering small micro grants
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
businesses, and it was to open yesterday on the 4th at noon. My friend and I checked at I think 4. So you were an hour afterwards.
Yeah, done.
All the funds had already been dispersed. I was like, seriously, this thing was supposed to be open for 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know I will be honest. I was very frustrated about that, and I think that was
But it's the same thing like the paycheck protection, right? The first wave, the money was gone.
Yeah.
they
And,
at least let you fill out the application.
right,
Yeah, no, it
Like
was
true,
just closed
true,
down.
true.
this like came up immediately. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't get any funds, and I just
Right,
felt like that's kind of it. What
right.
seriously? So it's those. I watch a lot of news where they talk about small businesses and their frustration. And I know people are trying to be helpful during this time, but it's those types of things that you're like, really don't send me the link.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be something else. I'm sure they'll figure
Right.
out that they didn't leave it open long enough and hopefully something will come up. And believe this time I'll be like the first one there
I
at 12
know.
o'clock, ready to do
Me and you both try to get it.
it.
So I've had conversations with other guests about some businesses are going to really have to make some hard and fast decisions during this period of time. Some not popular decisions, but they are going to. Have you been approached? And I know you're not necessarily in the commercial space, but have you been approached by businesses at this point about selling their business? And what kind of tips, advice, recommendations would you make to someone that's having to make that choice or sell their building? Not their business, but the building if they own it or rent it.
I actually have a listing for two commercial properties on 54th Street. And it's been something like that you would have put on and you would have gotten 20 calls the same day. I've gotten two
Mm-hmm.
calls. I've
Right.
been following up with them, and they're like, look, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't feel comfortable buying a commercial spot right now until we know. So it's just everybody's kind of like in that wait and see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you're still trying to get money just to keep your
Yeah,
business
because
alive.
a business is a little bit different. Like for the residential, that's where you're going to live. You have to live somewhere.
Right.
But for the business, they're a little bit more cautious as to what's going to happen.
Okay. So do you think that once we, where do you feel like at some point we might be able to get back to normal in the commercial space? I know the stay-at-home order has caused a
Once we
little.
know if I mean, I know Shirley feels very confident that all the tourists are coming back, but that's when we have to see, like, when people start flying back into Miami, when we see like the restaurants open, when we see the clubs open, when we see, you know, the hotels back open, that's when it's a sign that Miami's back to Miami.
But do we think people are still going to trust it though?
I'm 50-50. I think half of them will still come back, but you know, people memories are short. People forget. So maybe like in a few months, this will be like, you know.
And it's a personality type. So I definitely think the millenniums, they're like, woo, let me go, let me get the deals.
People are not.
Right.
But Shirley actually said something that I didn't think about, that the people from New York coming down and taking advantage of here, because our prices are lower, we have more space, and they've been through so much. It might be a welcome. So that's actually a good comment, because that might be something that's going to happen
here as well. They might have family here as well.
A lot of family and things like that.
Exactly. So this is a good break.
Maybe we should send them some emails. Come down to Miami.
You found a whole new clientele talking about this stuff, right?
Yes.
Look, glad to help you. Glad to help you. So, okay, I got to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How did you start going Overtown? How did you come up with that?
Monica. Well, about 3 years ago, I live in Overtown. I work in Overtown. It is, I've shared with everybody, it's my pride and joy. It's my home. And I had the good fortune of receiving a grant from Allegheny Franciscan Ministries and the Overtown Council to be sort of a communication tool for that community. For those who don't know, Overtown has been considered a challenge community, but is in the middle of a revitalization.
It is.
And some of the challenges, I mean, it's booming. As I mentioned, there's a train on every corner. And we're learning every day. There's going to be a Publix across the street, a Target right next to us, in a community that at one point was a food desert. So now it's becoming very robust. It's close to downtown, so it's really a hot spot. But one of the concerns was the residents that are here currently didn't know about things happening to them until it happened to them. And who could be the person to make sure that their voices were heard and they were included in the conversation, and that's our role. So we've kind of taken that and run with it, communicate through email, through social media, and now we're doing this show in hopes of also being able to help some of the businesses here.
Excuse me.
So that was a long-winded explanation, but thank you.
No, that's good. That's good. I have a couple of clients that have some properties in Overtown, and I've seen all the changes. It's literally night and day. Literally.
It is. It's fun to sort of live here, but then I mean, literally, they started building a building down the street from me, and I didn't realize it was almost completely finished. Where I was like, where did this building come from? And Red Rooster is down the street as well.
Have they opened? I mean, they held their opening, right?
They did have a grand opening. Unfortunately, they were still doing some construction, and then the pandemic hit. So they have been, there's a chef out of New York who, I apologize, I can't really remember, but is known for helping serve the homeless population.
Is it the Mexican chef, Andre?
Yes, it was is it
Andreas?
Yeah. Well, I'll learn and I'll tell you. But he actually is using the facility to serve here.
Nice.
The last I heard was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then we also have several local businesses that are still open, doing pick up and delivery, and serving the community as well. So Yeah, so nothing else. We eat pretty well around here. I don't know that's a good thing, but we eat pretty well around
Well,
here.
I know I did some takeout from Little Greenhouse Grill. So
Yes, that's my favorite place. And she was our
yes,
first guest. That was our favorite place. So yeah,
love the
check it
black eyed
out.
peas, and
Exactly.
the smoked wings. Yeah, good.
They're
Macaroni and
very good.
cheese.
I've
Yeah.
eaten there too. It's very good. I've eaten there with
Uh-huh.
you.
So, okay, just making sure I'm not missing anything. I think that might be it. And actually, we had such a conversation, we went off on other things. Thank you very much for agreeing to participate in this show. I
Oh,
was
thank you for having us.
when I spoke to Yvette, as we mentioned, and she mentioned people were still buying homes. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I've got to talk to those ladies. Before we leave, can you share with us how we can get in touch with you?
Yes, 786. I'm going to give my personal number. So I
Ooh.
know,
Ooh.
All right,
but
be careful.
it's what it's what I do business on. So call me if it's
Okay.
if it's a business matter, and Mary and I are happy to help you in terms of buying, selling, leasing your home. 786
Okay. Okay. And by the way, I probably will refer someone to you because I feel like they might be in really good hands. And when I'm ready to
Yes,
buy,
yes.
I'll call too. So
Fabulous.
thank you very much. And I hope we will have a chance to actually meet face to face at one point.
Yes.
We will.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us again for one more show. That was a wonderful conversation, and I actually learned a lot. I hope you did too. Tomorrow, we are interviewing Connie Kennard from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's a mouthful. I had to say it slowly. Please tune in at 10 a.m. She's going to talk to us a little bit about how we can revitalize the tourism community. We talked a little bit about tourism today. So we hope you will join in tomorrow at 10 to see how we can get that going again in Miami. You have a great day and talk to you soon.